Hello, my loves. I don't intend for this to be a very long live. Um, I wasn't actually planning on going live today at all. So, but I just did some auto writing, and between the information that came through yesterday in my live channeling and my membership, and the auto writing that I did this morning, I felt called to kind of come on and just talk about now through February how things are going to be, like the potentials of the energy that's present, so that you can use that to your benefit, so that you can listen to the information that I'm going to bring through. Again, I go, how can I say this? I'm not going to read the auto writing completely, but I'm going to give you guys some context of the auto writing. And I'm also going to share some of the information um, a little bit of what I shared in my channeling yesterday in my YouTube membership on the energy. So, yesterday morning in my YouTube membership, I channeled on some of the energy that was going to be coming up. And I want to talk about that a little bit here publicly, just to give you guys a heads up. And bring through some of the information that I channeled this morning, and that I don't have my makeup on. I'm still literally in my pajamas drinking my mud water. So really the message is more important than anything else. So I hope that you guys receive it well. And if you feel called to share this out for somebody who needs to hear it, that's going to benefit them more than it's going to benefit me. So sharing this information is important. It gives people an opportunity to look at this potential and decide what it is, how that's going to affect their life. It's something to hold on to. So as you journey through this week, which is going to be a pretty heavy week, and into February, it's just context to have a lens of how to see things, so that you don't succumb to that energy, so you don't get pulled down by it, and that you can come from a more observatory place. So yesterday in my YouTube membership, I talked about how the night before, not last night, but the night before, we went through, and actually it's been the three. So let's just say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. In that 4-day span, we went through a very large frequency increase for the whole planet. So the whole planet went through an increase again. And if you guys have been following my updates since last year, you know that I've talked about this for about 8 months now, about how our planet is going through an increase in frequency. And when that happens, we each individually process more information per hour than we ever have before. So every increase, we're processing more information per hour. And that information is photonic light. That's what information is. It's photonic light. And some people call it or downloads or upgrades or ascension symptoms or solar flares or whatever. Like, you can put any label on it or say it's caused by planets or by solar flares or by all of these things. But remember that the planetary alignments are markers that allow for the certain particular energies to channel through at any given time. So I don't want to go too far into esoterics, because I can feel my Andromedans coming in wanting to share all that information. But I want to keep this short, because that information is really being kind of reserved a lot for my membership. So my point in talking about the energy increasing again, because this is a really big increase. And February, when I did my 2022 channeling, January and February are some of the most intense months of this year that we're going to experience. We will have intense moments in July. We will have another huge intense moment, but these are the big energies. These are the big energies that are going to be playing out. And March is going to start to lighten up, but we could even have some intensity in March. It's not really until April, May, June that we start to really, in that 3-month span, we really notice the shift in the direction of where we're going as a society and as a collective. But this is, the closer you get to the truth, the louder the falsehood is. So I want to say that again. The closer you get to the truth, the louder the falsehood is. And I really talked about in my membership the shift in my lens of perspective that's happened. And so if you feel called to that, it's really something that you guys, everybody should listen. Yesterday's channeling was phenomenal. So let's get back to the message for right now and what's coming. So the energy this week, I talked about it a little bit on my Facebook post yesterday. The energy this week, communication over the next 4 weeks is going to be challenging, to say the least. This has nothing to do with Mercury retrograde or anything else. Those are factors, sure, but communication is going to be challenging over the next month. It's already been challenging, right? The reason why it's going to be challenging is because there's going to be this energy of heaviness and confusion and illusion that's really going to want to put people in a space where they disassociate, where they don't listen, where they don't want to be present, where they avoid taking responsibility for how they feel. And that is what we're really being asked to do over this next 4 weeks, is to take responsibility for our thoughts, words, and actions, take responsibility for our emotions, and be the observer of our reality instead of the absorber of whatever reality is around you. This is where boundaries and discernment come in. And I've been talking about the importance of holding not just physical boundaries, but energetic boundaries since 2020, actually 2019. And I have mentioned over the last few years how important it was for everybody to take that journey of understanding what boundaries truly are and how to utilize them and how to have that discernment. Because the only way that you can ever align to what your truth is to come from an open-hearted, vulnerable place, is to be willing to go through that density, through that limiting belief, through that fear to see the truth. And and when I say they, I mean people with an agenda. So whether that is people in your family, your friends, the government, whatever it is, those that hold an agenda are they. They with an agenda are going to get super loud, creating false narratives, and they've already started. There's going to be many distractions. There's going to be a lot of craziness that for some, they're going to look back and go, WTF is going on in the world right now? Like, I can't believe this is what we're talking about, or I can't believe that this is even a possibility right now. And it's going to be ridiculous stuff. You're going to also have a ton of truth injected. And that truth is going to be not seen because of how loud the noise is. And it's only going to be those who can align to their heart and their truth. I kind of get emotional saying this because it's coming from such a pure place, you know? And it breaks my human heart that so many people are standing behind this fog of illusion and falsehood and can't see the truth. And it shows the level of disconnect in society. How many people are disconnected from their own heart, from themselves? And I used to be that person. So I don't judge, but I have a lot of compassion and empathy because it's really difficult to see. And it's not worth my energy to make people aware in my own life of what they're not willing to become aware of. And this is why I have stopped and I stopped sharing a lot of my perspective on certain things because it's not worth my energy. It's not a good investment for me. It's exhausting, to be honest. So this morning, as I was sitting with all of this, and there's been a lot that has been revealed to me from spirit over the last 3 days that has really opened my eyes and opened my heart at a whole new level. And I just want to read some of my auto writing because I really want you guys to hear this. So I ask for you to be present with me. Be present with me and just receive this. Take your time and digest this. And allow it to be whatever it needs to be for you. This world has such a fog of illusion still consuming it. It shows how disconnected from self people truly are. There is no real truth. Truth is subjective. However, with that said, truth comes from a place of love and purity. Falsehood comes from fear. The absence of truth is actually fear in play. I really want, they want to stress this line. The absence of truth is fear in play. So oftentimes we omit things when we're communicating with other people. We hold back our authenticity. We don't speak our truth when we're given the opportunity. And yes, not everybody needs to hear every thought you have, right? You have to use your discernment. But when given the opportunity to stand in your beliefs and stand in your power and stand in your authenticity, are you omitting that to not hurt someone else's feelings, to not be abandoned, to not be rejected? Are you doing it because you want to be loved, you want to be accepted? You have to really look at your own narrative. You have to be willing to look at yourself and take responsibility for what you're doing, thinking that you're doing it to avoid conflict or whatever. But in reality, you're really causing more confusion, because the less you communicate, and this is where I got pretty deep in yesterday's channeling, the less communication you give, the less clear communication you give, the more gaps and spaces you create for people to fill in the blank, to attempt to read your energy and figure out what you were really meaning to say. That is fear in play. There is truth and love and fear and falsehood. It's just that simple. This is from Spirit. Falsehood is loud. It is a narrative being used to manipulate. When decisions based in fear, falsehood, when we make decisions, based in fear, which is falsehood, we have to go around the karmic wheel again. Why, you ask? So that we can learn what our truth is, to open our hearts. This is why so many of us repeat patterns. I know I've repeated plenty of patterns along the way, because I wasn't yet able to take responsibility for my part in it. And so we have to go around that karmic wheel again. We have to experience something in a new way, with maybe new people, with a new circumstances, to get a different angle, to see it differently, to find our truth, to open our heart, to stand in our ground, to be authentic to who we truly are. Be willing to be vulnerable. Be willing to have hard conversations. Be willing to be rejected. Be willing for people to not agree with you. Be willing for people to not understand. Not be willing to understand. Because to understand, that means that they have to listen and they have to digest the information. And they have to have discernment. Even I am not perfect with this. Be willing to stand alone, because you know what that truth is. Truth is quiet, rarely acknowledged. Truth is subtle. It's the subtle voice. It's the subtle feeling that something's not right. And usually the ego or the fear comes in very quickly after the truth has been heard, right? The truth comes first, always. And then within seconds, depending on how aware you are or how on autopilot you are, your ego is going to come in and get loud. The fear. Ego is based in fear. Ego is based in keeping you safe. So it's going to get loud. So over the next 4 weeks, especially this week and next week, the world's going to get loud. Your personal reality, your ego, your inner children, your limiting beliefs, your fears all have the potential to get loud. Observe them, learn from them, question them. Is this belief serving me? Is this fear serving me? What am I supposed to learn from this? What is it trying to show me? Don't absorb it. Don't get entangled and enmeshed in it. Don't get pulled down by it. Observe it. Have compassion for yourself. Treat yourself as you would a lost child trying to navigate things they don't understand. A lot of what's going on in the world today, we don't understand because we're not given all the information. How can you understand something if there's information being omitted? When we see information being omitted, that means that is fear in play. Really let yourself understand that. The best thing we can all do as a collective now through February is be as present as possible. When we listen, it means that when we listen, that means we're not in our head thinking of a comeback. And we're not distracted on our phone or by multitasking. We are listening to the information. We are digesting it. We are giving ourselves space to understand it. And if we don't, this is our opportunity to ask questions. To be vulnerable and say, the story in my mind says this, and that is my issue. Could you help me create clarity inside of me? Can you help me understand? Can you give me more context? But we forget that the majority of the world population, their level of understanding is stunted at wherever their emotional maturity ended. Meaning, if you had any type of trauma simply means separation. You stopped emotionally developing at a certain age. And so we have a lot of adults walking around with children inside of them as 5-year-olds, as 12-year-olds, as 15-year-olds, because that's where their emotional intelligence, aka true understanding, was stunted. So when we listen and we're present and we have the ability to ask questions and inquire, we create space for love and understanding. That is powerful. So don't use assumptions. Don't fill in the blank for things that you don't get because the other person was just not emotionally mature enough to provide that context. And maybe by you inquiring, you're actually asking your trigger of I don't understand triggers them to go deeper inside of themselves to understand, which helps them to get more clear about what's true to them and really convey their heart. But both parties have to be willing participants to be vulnerable, to be authentic. And that was the majority of this message. It was allow for time to digest. When you make a decision from fear, you're going to go around that karmic wheel again. But when you make a decision based in love, and yes, that means you may stand alone. Yes, that means you may be walking the path less traveled. Yes, that means you may not be accepted by everybody. Yes, that means that people might reject you and you might lose people you love around you, meaning you haven't really ever lost them, but they're not somebody who's a prominent person, active person in your life. But this is a part of a purge too. Because as I channeled in the 2022 webinar, This is a year where there are two very divided timelines. And those who are willing to walk in faith and uncertainty and to shed all of their masks of falsehood and stand in their authenticity, scared shitless, are going to walk into that second timeline of New Earth. And yes, it's still scary. And yes, we are being asked to walk completely on faith and uncertainty. And anytime we try to control it is ripped right out of our hands. And those who are not willing to do that will remain on the other timeline, and it will feel like a great divide between the two. And you will feel so far away from the person you loved. But sometimes that's what has to happen for them to realize that they have an opportunity to take responsibility and do the work that it takes to open their heart fully. It's not for us to judge them or to try to get them on the right path or to make them aware of what they're not willing to become aware of. It's our opportunity to provide compassion. You can't judge someone and be compassionate with them. You just can't. So the next 4 weeks are going to be challenging, to say the least. And that doesn't mean and intense. And again, you may be someone who experiences ultimate bliss the next 4 weeks. You may be someone who experiences clarity and connection to source in a way that you have never felt before. And I know that that's what I'm feeling right now. But I'm also having a lot of people in my life showing me the other side. And it's been a very interesting observation to go through. Be willing to love yourself and respect yourself so much that you no longer hide yourself from anyone else. Choose truth and love instead of omitting or lying or pretending or succumbing to the fears of the world or those around you. This is going to be the ultimate test for everybody. And so I felt called to pull some of what I shared in my membership channeling and what I auto wrote this morning and kind of give everybody that opportunity to really have a heads up and to have the lens available to use moving forward. And when things get loud, when their mind gets loud, when the stories get loud, when this world stage gets loud, maybe this will be the seed that helps you not get entangled in it. Maybe this is the seed that helps you observe it. Oh, it definitely comes from my soul sister. It's been a very heart-opening experience, for sure. Excuse me, sorry about that. I want to be able to read these comments on my other platform. So someone's saying their heart wants justice so bad, not sure what to do. So here's the thing. Especially for those of us who have had trauma, who've been traumatized by people, whether it's our parents or spouses or friends, it really could be strangers even. For those of us who seek justice, and I've been one of those people, I'm going through a divorce. Most people know this. And I definitely don't have justice in my divorce. I definitely don't. I am not. I'm basically walking away from everything and not getting my fair share that I put in back. And that happens to a lot of people in divorce, to be honest. But I can understand, and even my abuse as a child, I can understand wanting justice. But what my guides tell me about justice is this. And a lot of people say this is karma, right? I want to see them get what they deserve. And that's really going back around that wheel again. When you're not doing, we all hit the fork in the road every time we come around that karmic wheel, and we're given an opportunity to go right and go back around it, or go left and take a new path. It's uncertain and unknown. And every time we take the familiar path, the comfortable path, we go back around that wheel again. So in honesty, the justice is they're going to continue to repeat their bad behavior. And we're not going to always see them get hurt. And the big reason behind this was surprising to me. They're not even aware of it. They're not even aware of what they're doing to themselves, let alone other people. Their heart's so closed off that they don't even realize they're hurting themselves. They don't realize they're hurting anybody else. So the true karma, or the true justice, is watching them just repeat the same thing over and over again, a new way with new people. And what a sad existence to go through. Because I know for me, for 30 years, I went around that wheel over and over and over and over again. And that was part of what I needed to forgive myself for, because I didn't take the hint that me holding on to needing fucking justice, excuse my language, was actually keeping me in the low vibrations. It was actually keeping me sick. And the more I let go of needing to see somebody hurt or fail, and just observing with compassion that these people are going to be stuck on that karmic freaking wheel, makes me don't want to have pain inflicted on them anymore. And that comes from my abusers that are ridiculous to think of that way, and to my ex-husband yesterday, or soon to be ex-husband. So I can understand wanting justice. It's a very human thing. But know that that justice is not going to make you feel any better. You think it is. It's not. What's going to make you feel better is realizing that these people are stuck in a karmic wheel. And what's going to make you feel better is that you broke free, and that you don't have to keep repeating the same shit over and over again. Choose to forgive. Give them back that energy and be like, have at it. Keep going around that wheel. You exhaust yourself, and I'm going to go over here and venture on my less traveled path with not a lot of people, where it's peaceful and free. But we have so much pain inside of us that we want, and when you're in pain, you want to see other people in pain. But especially if you're seeing the world through the lens of pain, you want them to pay. But you know what I learned through going through my divorce is it doesn't matter. It'll never be enough. It'll never be enough pain. It'll never be, the justice will never come. It'll never be enough. It'll never match my investment. It won't. So why do I exhaust myself? Keep trying. Let go of the control. And by you wanting that justice, by you wanting to see them in pain, you're trying to control the situation. You're trying to have control over it. You're trying to say, see, this is what it felt like for me. But they're never going to know what you feel like. The more we listen to each other, and if you have somebody who that justice or that karmic is with, and you can truly be heard by them and allow them to open their heart and share how emotionally they experience something, that's going to be the closest you're ever going to come to allowing somebody into what you felt. And even then, if their heart is not as open as yours or more, it's not going to mean anything to them, because they don't know how to feel. They don't know how to feel. Tanya, this is the sweater I bought when we were together in Detroit, or in Michigan. But thank you, it is comfy. So that's my answer to that. I hope that helps you understand, and I wish you all the best. And this person was on TikTok in court, and I send you love and compassion, because it's going through anything where we want justice is not easy, because we're never going to have what we want. we're never going to have that emotion and that pain mirrored back. It just won't. So anyway, not to get off course there, but I felt called to answer that question. It was like literally beaming at me from the phone. So she really needed to hear that. Maybe other people needed to hear that. But that is the energy that we are walking into. We're already in it, actually. But, way showers, people like me, we kind of start going through it a few days before everybody else. So this has been around since probably last Thursday. Last Wednesday, last Thursday is when we really kind of entered into this energy, and it's just continued to ramp up with the increase by the planet's frequency. So with this, I mentioned in my Facebook post, if you are someone who struggles with the high frequencies, this is going to make you more tired. It's going to knock you out. You're going to want to sleep all the time. If you're able to sustain this information, or you're trying to control a lot, you may have insomnia. You might get a ton of downloads. I have not slept well in the past week at all. I've had nothing but, when I am still, I have nothing but downloads coming in, or I am very aware of my ego. So it's about finding the silence within you. It's about, again, being present with whatever you're doing. This is not a good time to multitask. I don't care what your excuse is. Multitasking will make this even harder. Being present with one task at a time. When someone speaks to you, really being present with the words they're speaking. And when you don't have clarity, being open to asking questions and filling in that context with evidence and not with your own narrative and story. And choosing to observe and remembering that the loudness, when you omit something, when something is loud, when you are not authentic, when you don't stand in who you truly are, that is fear in play. That's what Spirit has said. When you omit the truth, that is fear in play. So be willing to have the uncomfortable conversations. Be willing to be authentic with your emotions in real time. Be willing to be rejected. Be willing to be abandoned. Be willing for people to not get it. Be willing to open up your heart and give the context if asked. And really be willing to come from a compassionate place and give yourself space to digest whatever it is you're seeing, hearing, experiencing, so that you can respond and not react. If these are what will keep you from repeating that karmic wheel. And right now we are at a very pivotal point in this journey and this year, and how things go from here. Really, this is a huge fork in the road. So take this information for what you will. If you feel called to be supported further, join my YouTube membership. It's literally $9.99 a month. And I channel in there a few times a week. It's a good place to ask questions. It's a good place to be supported by the guides. Mainly I'm channeling the Andromedans and Arcturians, but I have many other beings that come in as needed. And I also share my own wisdom from my own experience. So that's a place you feel want to be held, join that. Or just hop on these whenever you see them. But take this information, use it as a lens in which you can see the world through if you so choose. Allow it to sit with you. Allow yourself to develop your own truth. And that can only be found in the vulnerability of a wide open heart. So I hope you receive this transmission from my soul to yours. And I hope you guys all have an amazing week. I love you.